let's talk new Macs. Last week we did get that press release week of new Macs, and now by the end of this week, reviews are starting to come out, including our Mac Mini review, which should be out by the time this podcast is out, so we can talk about this one, this little guy here. Basically, and I guess I'll spoil the review a little bit if you haven't seen it yet, but 3 main things are crazy about this Mac Mini. One is obvious. It's tiny. Yeah, I'm like holding it in my hand right now. It's a 5-inch by 5-inch by 2-inch little rectangular thing. Nobody was asking for a smaller Mac Mini, but here we are. It's like the smallest little thing you've ever seen. It's a full-size desktop computer, full M4 and M4 Pro chips in there. Crazy how small it is. Thermals seem to be totally fine. It just keeps getting smaller. It's crazy.
It's really cool.
Yeah. So that's that. I called it a shrunken Mac Studio because the old Mac Mini was more of it was like flat, like a platter. This one's it's actually taller than the old Mac Mini. It's 2 inches tall, but it's.
This makes the Mac Studio look huge.
I put this on top of the Mac Studio. It makes the Mac Studio look actually
like
massive.
I saw it on Rich's desk and I was like, whoa, that thing's gigantic.
I don't remember that feeling big. Like it never.
No,
I was always like, oh, that's a fairly small Mac.
The Mac Studio is already unnecessarily small.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful computer.
Yeah.
I love the Mac Studio. This thing is way smaller.
My best size comparison, I have this roll of duct tape.
Oh, yeah. You kind of nailed that.
When it sits on top, every corner of duct tape perfectly aligns with the sides of the Mac Mini. If duct tape had corners, it would be it. And then the size.
Hold it up.
Sorry, I'm doing it on the table and no one can see.
The footprint is exactly the same. If you were to measure it, it's 5 inches by 5 inches, and then it's also exactly 2 inches tall.
In terms of height, it is like literally perfect.
Which is crazy. I don't know how you knew that, but
we were just trying to compare it to things and like everyday items, and I grabbed this, and it happened to be almost exactly the same.
I was trying to relate it to everyday things that everyone would know the size of for the video.
I think duct tape is in there,
and a full-size duct tape roll. It is there, but on the front you have 2 ports, 2 USB-C ports on the front. Those are not Thunderbolt ports, and then you have
3
the headphone jack, and that's it. You'll notice there's no power button yet. On the back, you have the power plug. 1 gig Ethernet by default. You can, for $100, make it 10 gig, I think. Yeah. And then HDMI full size and 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports by default. On the M4 Pro, those become Thunderbolt 5. Still no power button, you might notice. On the top, just that little Apple logo. Still no power button, you might notice. On the sides, totally blank. This thing is nice and clean. Still no power button, you've probably noticed. At this point, I turn it upside down and you see the intake fans and the power button at the back bottom corner. So I just, threw out a conspiracy theory in the Mac Mini review, but I'm sticking by it. I think it is someone's job at Apple to come up with every new design, one obvious, not that big a deal, but easy to complain about thing to take the heat off of anything that might go wrong.
Yeah.
This is the same person that started with the notch in the iPhone. This is the same person that has the port at the bottom of the Magic Mouse instead of anywhere else. This is the same person who might have even started taking the headphone jack away, but this person definitely chose to put the power button on the bottom of the Mac Mini.
David and I talked about this last week before we saw it. It is not possible to press this button unless you physically pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's worse than... I thought you could at least kind of stick your finger under it and press it.
It's very, very small and light, and generally it's not going to be that big of a deal. However, just like the original Mac Mini, people build setups around it, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people buy these so that they can put desktop risers over it and stuff. And again, I'm in the camp where I'm like, I don't think I really need to turn off my computer that often, so it's not that big of a deal. And if I do need to, I'll just pick up the back a little bit. But
just a little annoying.
It is a little bit annoying. It's one of those things that Apple does sometimes where they're just form over function.
It is an objectively bad place to put it. The exact same way the port at the bottom of the Magic Mouse is objectively the worst place to put it.
Right.
But it's probably fine and not that big a deal because it's only, once a while that you actually use that.
Yeah. We're also in one of those really awkward situations where they have 2 products out right now, and one is an objectively bad deal compared to the other one because the M4 Pro version of this computer is faster than the M2 Ultra, which is what's shipping in the Mac Studio right now. Mac Studio, for the equivalent spec, basically is more than double the price effectively.
Yeah.
You're getting obviously way more cores. So if that is something that you specifically need, there's the Mac Studio. You're also getting the USB-A ports.
Full size, yeah.
And that's pretty much it. So it's kind of that awkward situation where we were at when people were still needing to buy Intel Macs because compatibility.
Yeah.
But literally the only situation that you would buy the Intel Mac is because of compatibility. I don't really see a world where you would buy the Mac Studio over a faster Mac Mini right now.
Yeah.
Unless for some reason you absolutely needed built-in USB-A, which I don't know why you couldn't just use an adapter, or you absolutely needed a built-in SD card reader, which again, I don't know why you couldn't just use an adapter.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure if they're going to like discontinue this or just update it. They haven't officially announced an M4 Ultra chipset.
They gotta.
If they did, it would be great
Yeah.
because the Mac Studio is also still stuck on M2 Ultra.
Yeah. So Mac Studio is overdue. So I guess this gets me, I'll just finish my opening point, which is there's three crazy things about this Mac Mini. First one was size. The other two are the base M4 Mac Mini is a great deal. It's $599. It's just a base M4 chip. They doubled it to 16 gigs of onboard memory. It's got all these ports. It's tiny. Thermals are great. Performance is great. It's like, that's a damn good entry Mac. Good job.
Yeah.
The third and final thing is, wait a second. The most powerful Mac Mini is the most powerful CPU Mac so far. Desktop Mac.
The desktop Mac, yeah.
Because the M4 Pro is the fastest single core performance we've ever seen on any Mac, obviously with M4 or M3 or M2. And then, yeah, the M4 Pro is benchmarking above M1 Max and is hitting M2 Ultra levels.
It's above M2
of
Ultra.
CPU and GPU.
Yeah, yeah.
So, the point you're making, I think, is that the M2 Macs are overdue for an upgrade. The Mac Pro, the Mac Studio, where we're going to hopefully see M4 Ultra and get all of those updated sometime soon. We don't have that yet. We just have MacBook Pro with the M4 Pro and M4
Very
Max.
weird to me that they didn't do that already.
Yeah, so they're kind of staggering all these M4 Mac upgrades. But yeah, as of right now, Mac Mini is in a really impressive space.
Yeah. And then as you noted in your review, what's very funny about this is that the base model is an extremely good deal at $599. And then if you have an education discount, you get it for $499, which is even crazier.
Sick.
But once you add the additional SSD storage and you add the RAM,
No longer a great deal.
you have almost an entire extra Mac Mini.
Yeah.
So maybe the RAM could be worth it, but honestly, they're Thunderbolt 4 ports on the back for the base model. Just buy an external SSD or an SSD enclosure and permanently mount it to the back. And you'll be fine. It's so much cheaper.
Buy two of them and run them in SLI, and then you get 32 gigs of unified
SLI.
memory.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while. SLI. Yeah, these, I guess you are limited in ports. You only have 3 USB-C ports. So you
But
gotta
they're
be
all
careful.
Thunderbolt on the back. So
Or sorry, yeah, 3 Thunderbolt on the back and then 2 USB-C on the front.
It's funny thinking about running like a CalDigit onto this, knowing it's the same size pretty much.
Right.
Like to add an extra dock onto this for more I/O.
Yeah.
It's the same size as the actual computer.
I understand that this computer is very cheap. I am pretty bummed out that the ports on the front are just USB 3 because that's going to be the most common port that you attach an external SSD to. It's going to be hard to get to the back, so it's kind of frustrating.
Here's a question. Would you rather have 3 USB 3 ports on the back and 2 Thunderbolt on the front over the 3 Thunderbolt on the front and 2 USB 3 on the front? Sorry, 3 Thunderbolt on the back and 2 USB 3 on the front. That was very confusing.
Wait, say it one more time.
Would you rather? Okay, this has 2 USB on the front and 3 Thunderbolt on the back. Would you rather? Would you be okay with losing a Thunderbolt port, but they're on the front, and then the back are just 3 USB? Because
That'd be worse.
That'd be where you need at least one on the back to be Thunderbolt so you can connect it to
the monitor.
displays. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I was gonna say like you'd normally rather plug I/O in the back, right? Or they're assuming you're probably using a wireless keyboard.
I'd probably be okay with 1 Thunderbolt on the back and then 2 Thunderbolt on the front.
Yeah, at this moment,
Same
the
amount.
front port is always the most convenient. When I plug a Thunderbolt drive into my Mac Pro, which is also the same situation, I get an error message that says you can't plug in this Thunderbolt accessory into this port, and I have to unplug it and plug it in the back with the Thunderbolt ports. So people are going to get that message if they try to plug like a fast SSD into the front. It's going to be like, not the port for this.
Right.
Plug it in the back.
Yeah.
As I'm looking at this, can I have a low-key conspiracy theory on why they didn't do that?
I'm all for it.
Because then they would have to put the Thunderbolt logo on the front, and that would kill the aesthetic of it
Did they
being
do that on the
clean
Mac
like
Studio?
this.
That's a great question.
Are there any Mac Studios with Thunderbolt on the front? No.
I don't think even the Ultra does.
Oh, okay. So they
Because,
just don't
I mean,
want
the
logo
Ultra-
on
They don't want the logo on the
Oh
front.
my god,
Yeah, because the Ultra of the Mac Mini is also not Thunderbolt.
that's really sad. Oh, there is no Ultra. It's just Pro.
Sorry, not
But
Ultra
yeah,
of the Mac Mini.
none of them are
the
Thunderbolt
Pro
on the
of Mac
front.
Mini. Yeah, so that is a little disappointing. It's going to be harder to get to the back ports, and for people that are like photographers that need to use external SSDs a lot to transfer files quickly,
Yeah.
it's going to be very annoying to get. I think that is more annoying than the power button being on the bottom.
So I think that is my theory about Apple's price ladders is even though it is actually totally capable chip-wise, performance-wise of being like the photographer's computer or like the light editor's computer, it's not meant to be. It's still just the entry Mac for like a casual, like think about the M4 iMac, which is just $1,200. Obviously, it's not cheap, but it's like a very casual
This.
baseline computer to just get a computer.
So you're saying like this is the
M4 iMac of
this is the baseline computer where you want your own monitor. You don't want the iMac because like I would call the iMac the baseline.
The
Just
iMac
like
is the
you're
baseline,
not
but it's $1,200 to start. And if you have a
13,
computer, $1,300. So if you have a monitor already, you just like, all right, I'm gonna get a Mac. I'll get the $500, $600 Mac Mini, and that's plenty of computer for every casual thing you were gonna do on.
Actually,
it.
I could see this. This is perfect for the like. I have a friend who does like software engineering, and he has just a Mac Mini and his gaming PC hooked up to the same monitors and just swap. So this is great to just like
Use a KVM switch.
yeah, and just like code on this if you'd prefer to do that on Mac, and then switch over to your computer
But
on the same monitor.
the second you were going to be the photographer thinking about how many ports do I need or how many external drives am I going to plug in or anything like that, they walk you right up to the Mac Studio because you start to think about like, oh, M4 Pro or how much more am I going to spend?
Yeah, but it's so
and
much
then you're
more
on a Mac
expensive.
Studio.
But the Mac Studio also has regular USB 3 ports.
But it has USB-A, it has way more ports.
Yeah.
And even though you're
It
not
only
getting
has
that much
one
more
extra C
performance-
port though on the back and then 2 USB-A. It's not that many more ports.
It has a bunch of USB-A, I thought.
It only has 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I've used both of mine. So it has 4 Thunderbolt and 2 USB-A. That's a big difference.
That's one extra port for one Thunderbolt and 2 USB-A.
3 extra ports.
Well, sure.
You know?
I don't
Instead of
know.
a splitter.
I don't know.
I just feel like that's
I wouldn't buy
who
that
it's
for
for.
twice the price for 3 extra ports. You know,
well, you say
and a
that,
slower
and that makes
computer.
perfect logical sense. But if you walk up the rungs of the ladder one by one,
Yeah.
you kind of end up there faster than you think. Like the base Mac Studio, as you see, is $2,000 right now.
Yeah, but it's
right?
M2 Pro. It's like so much slower.
It's M2 Max,
Sorry. Yes.
so it's a better GPU or almost as good. Well, it should be better, but it's not. But it's M2 Max. I think we all know it's not a great deal right now because we want M4 stuff in there. But
Yeah.
you, for that price, will get all of the extra ports. You'll get hopefully soon M4 Max, and then it's actually
Just buy like a Cal Digit and hook it up to one of the USB-C ports on the back.
But a Cal Digit is like what, $500 or something?
Yeah.
It's not the same.
That's
price.
exactly you're getting right up to the Mac Studio.
I don't know.
So anyway, I think we're in a weird place because Apple's lineup is not fully updated to M4, which is why this like weird comparison kind of makes sense. But I think hopefully soon Mac Studio gets M4, Mac Pro gets M4,
Yeah.
and then everything is on tiered.
To me,
playing
it
field
feels
again.
like Apple only sees the front ports as a way to like charge the Magic Keyboard and the Magic Mouse.
That's kind of mostly what I do.
In all of their press stuff, they just show it like having the PlayStation controller plugged into it or the Teenage Engineering thing plugged into it, but they don't actually show anything transferring data, just charging.
Never substantial data.
So yeah, that's interesting.
Dang, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. We should talk about the MacBook Pro.
Yeah. Okay. That's the last thing we got here, which is this is the new M4 generation MacBook Pro. Geez, I haven't upgraded my MacBook Pro in 3 years. We were just talking about this before.
Yeah.
I was 28 years old when I got my my M1
A wee lad.
Max. Yeah, I was just a child. And I've been using it ever since, and I haven't really been tempted by any of the upgrades. From M1 to M2 was silly. M1 to M3, don't really need it. M4 Max comes out and M4 Pro. These new laptops, now they're starting to stack the improvements on top of each other over the M1 generation. Not that I need some performance improvement, but they also did a couple little things. One, Thunderbolt 5, so faster I/O for those SSDs, for those big projects. Two, there's a nano texture option on the display. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. This is it. Yeah. You've seen it. It's pretty sick looking.
Yeah.
I have thoughts on it. And then 3, it is space black, and the first one isn't. So it's just kind of like a bunch of little things now stacking up on top. So this is the first one I've at least thought about switching from my 3-year-old M1 Max to this brand new M4 Max. We are still mid-review process on that, so I don't have an answer yet. I will say it's a great laptop. It's very expensive, but it is very performant. It is, on our export test, basically twice as fast as my laptop on like major multi-threaded apps, which is awesome. So I'm liking this laptop a lot so far. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thanks for watching that clip. I think the big thing on YouTube, again, is pack opening. So we're going to live open my Pokemon the card game.
I also I'm opening one right now.
Okay.
What?
Cool.
Are you?
I don't know what you mean. Which one should I open? Charizard, Pikachu, or Mewtwo?
I've been opening the Mewtwo one a lot.
Mewtwo, okay.
Yeah. It's tough.
Did you guys get any good pulls recently?
Yes.
I got Mewtwo yesterday.
You got Mewtwo?
Yeah.
I have a lot of good cards right now. I've been obsessed with this game.
It is very 12. Fun just opening it every once in a while. All right, we got
Routes.
Okay. Koga, Tentacool,
okay.
Shelder.
I had that Shelder card when I was a kid.
Giovanni. I am Italian.
Pretty terrible pull.
That's a really bad pull.
I only got one. What did you get?
I don't have anything to pull for 6 hours.
Oh, I got one too.
What'd you get?
This one.
Zubat?
Charizard? Charbat? Zuzard?
I was just going to go with whatever you said it was. So
I'll go
with it.
It's kind of
sad looking.
It has a beak, in case you couldn't.
Oh. It also has like
have a beak?
fingernails on its wings.
Oh no.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of weird. They look like mountains now that I'm.
Mountains.
You should subscribe
if you want to see more of that.